Hi, everyone. Welcome to Parenting How Not to Suck. Here's the good news. If you clicked on this link to watch this video, it means you absolutely do not suck. It means that you want to grow as a parent. There's some things you might be struggling with, but you're looking for help, solutions, and answers. And we created this chat so you can have some fun, listen to some stories of some experts and other parents to help you on your journey. Today, I'd love to welcome my friend Donna Marston. Donna is a certified recovery support worker, a Shambhala Reiki master, and the founder of Sharing Without Shame, an organization empowering families affected by addiction through workshops, coaching, and support groups. An accomplished author, Donna shares her journey as a mother navigating her son's addiction in her books, including Peeling the Onion and Sharing Without Shame. Donna's work inspires hope and transformation for families impacted by addiction, and it's big today. Thanks for being here, Donna.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to have our chat because we met beforehand, and there's so much we can talk about as far as addiction goes. It's so prevalent, and with the mental health crisis we're having here in North America, it's become even more prevalent, and parents need your help. I want you to start out with your story because it's really an important piece and of how you got to be where you are now. So tell us a little bit about it.
It's been a long journey, I'll tell you that. So back in, my son is going to be 42 in December. And when he was 15, I suspected that there was something going on. Didn't know what it was. And I would ask him, "Are you gay? Did somebody touch you? What's going on?" And then
change in behavior. It was a big shift.
he was irritable and discontent. And of course, I think a lot of 15-year-old boys are irritable.
Yeah, that's part of the teenage
I
thing.
think that's part of that. And I just wanted to be in tune and make sure he was okay. And then I found out he was bullied. And so that was the spiral. Fast forward, 18 was his first arrest, driving a car. And it's a long story. I'm not going to go into it. But he had reasons why it happened. He looked down and did something else. The truth is, I think he told me in his recovery he was huffing that day.
What does that mean?
Huffing. It's a way of inhaling drugs.
Oh, okay.
So he ran into a school parking lot, hit a tree, and hit the fence, and it became messy.
Yeah.
And asked again, "You on drugs? What's going on? Mom, you're crazy. Yeah, how dare you? I can't believe you'd ask this." And because then you're like, "Oh God, you feel terrible."
Yeah.
At the age of 20, the truth started to come out. And couldn't find him. Not that I couldn't find him, but he was supposed to be home. And it was like 2 days later, he came home.
Wow.
And I said, "So tell me what drug you're on."
Yeah.
Like, "I'm done. Give me the keys to the car and I'm done." "What drug you on?" Of course, he cries. I've been using OxyContin. I was so naive. Now, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I should have known, but I didn't. I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. And when he told me oxys, I thought he was popping a pill.
Yeah.
Had no clue he was snorting, misusing them. And then for those next 5 years, I thought I was going to die of a broken heart or end up in a psych ward. Because to watch your child slowly killing themselves and you can't love them into recovery, no matter what you do, it's heart-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, and it destroyed me. And I went to bed for the first 6 months in the fetal position. And what did I do wrong? The what ifs, the could ifs, the should ifs.
Oh, the mom guilt. Yes.
Must be all my fault.
Huge.
Did I treat him differently than his younger brother? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And it took time, and I would go from room to room, beating myself up. And then there was like an epiphany, and you didn't inject him. You didn't crush the oxy so he could snort them. You didn't buy him drugs. You didn't do any of this. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
In that pivotal moment, I realized that I have a secret. You just can't tell anybody, right? This is back in the late 1990s.
Yeah.
This was coming out. And so it, I dealt with this addiction for 10 years. The last 5 years was an absolute nightmare. 2 years prior to his recovery, somebody said to me, one of my clients said to me, you ought to read this book, Asking It Is Given by Louise and Jerry Hicks.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't want to read another book. I'm sick of it. And I said, I just can't read this. She goes, just go to I think it's 134 and look at the emotional scale. I think it will help you. And I looked at the emotional scale. You have the book. Saved my life. Saved my life because I was
Wow.
22. I was full of despair, fear, guilt, depressed, all the stuff.
Mhm.
And so in that moment, I went, okay, I have to do something different. And so I printed it off, I framed it, put it on my desk. And every day I would look at it. And I started with number 17, anger. And that day I went up and I took a pillow and I beat the crap out of my bed and just let it.
Yeah.
And I would work on that until I could get myself to number 7. Because if I get to 8 and I become bored, all bets are off, even in today, that I'm not going to spiral down and start being a mess, an emotional mess, right? So and then I started working on me. And so that's the story of my.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That I don't know how that didn't come up in our previous chat. My gosh, the emotional scale with
Life changing. It saved my life.
It is.
That and Reiki.
Yes. Yeah. Reiki, the energy work. And emotions are energy too, right?
Yeah.
And you know what that scale has taught me so much is that you can't go from shitty to giddy in one fell swoop.
It's work.
It is a process. When you're in despair, you want to feel a little bit better, then it's anger or whatever the next one is. I don't have them memorized, but right. And so you can only feel just a little bit better, just a little bit better, just a little bit better until you're feeling better, right? It's a momentum that they talk about a train, right? If the train's going down the wrong track really fast, it's not going to just immediately stop, turn around and go the other direction. That'd be very painful for everybody on board that train, right? You have to slow the train first and then gently take it back to the other direction.
Yep.
And I love you. I thought you were going to say your coined phrase.
I've taken my mess and made it my message.
Thank you.
And that's why I'm here today.
Yes, exactly. And you made it through your son's recovery. Sharing without shame, that after you got into your contentment and you were working on yourself, how did you really come to this knowledge of that people need to share these stories without the shame as it's.
Yeah. Again, when this was all going on, you didn't talk about it. You kept your secret. And I realized how emotionally sick I was. And little by little, I was invited to go on a mission for the state of New Hampshire, a recovery mission. I was the only parent. And they sent me up to Knoll Farm in Vermont. And we were on this beautiful mountainside. And I'd have to walk up a part of the mountain every day. And I was in my late 50s, I think. And we'd go to this yurt. And we would meditate and blah, blah, blah. And we decided that we all had to come back to New Hampshire with something. And I committed to starting family support groups because when I was sick and suffering, there was nothing for me. I had nobody to talk to. That's a lie. Sorry. There was Al-Anon, but they irritated me.
Yeah.
Because my kid's not like your kid.
Right.
We need him to do drugs. He comes from a nice house. So listen, you give me the answer so I can go home and save him and we can all be done.
Right.
They kept telling me to keep coming back. And I was like, you people don't understand. I don't have time. He could die. So just give me the answer. And they didn't. So they irritated me. So I moved on. It was very lonely and difficult, the path I chose to take. But from that, so anyway, I ended up committing to opening up family support, and I founded Family Sharing Without Shame.
Yes.
Which I ran for over 12 years in the state of New Hampshire. I had the highest attendance in the state. And from that, it evolved a business that I didn't plan on. This just happened to me. And then I started a parent share without shame membership page. And each year, everything changes, and it evolved into sharing without shame. And now I've trademarked it. I own it. And because whether it's drugs or alcohol, so many people have stuff that they can share without shame. Because when we release the shame, we can only get better.
That's right. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And it's a different model than the Al-Anon, right? You're looking for answers in sharing without shame. Each person, I'm sure, that went to your groups, they ended up figuring out their own answers because they were able to release those negative feelings and that shame that they had, and the mom guilt and just all the things when you have a child that's in the throes of addiction. And that support of each other also that you didn't have, right? So I think it's an amazing model, and I'm sure that you're still helping so many families today through your work, right? So,
and the thing that we've always said, there's no right or wrong way. We all have to find our way. What works for me may not work for another parent, but let's talk about it. So let's talk about better coping skills, or how to have a conversation that's not hurtful, that's not judgmental, and that can rebuild the relationship. Even if your teen or adult child is unhealthy in active addiction, how can you have a healthier relationship with them?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And also, I found when I was dealing with it, people say, you're codependent, you're enabling, and this and that. And I used to feel bad for loving my son. And so what I do, we don't shame and blame parents for loving their kids. What we talk about is unhealthy helping.
Yes.
What does that look like? And you see their bodies relax.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about that. We all do it.
Yep.
Nothing to be ashamed about, but let's learn from it.
Exactly. Because it's done out of love, true love, but having someone else to share that with and bounce that off of and have those really important discussions, unhealthy helping, not enabling, because that just gives it the connotation that you're like kicking them out the door to go get it or giving them money to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel bad because you love your child.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's your 70-year-old kid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
People in active addiction need to be loved more, not less, with healthy boundaries. How do we figure that out?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So you also talked about coping skills. So you give some parents some coping skills to deal with that. Because I can't imagine the fear of when your child's not home. It's absolutely paralyzing. So how do you help parents? What are some coping skills you share with them?
First of all, we talk about self-care. First and foremost, because if they're unhealthy, they can't help their kid. Right?
That's true.
And when I realized that, I put roller skates on and I started really working. So we talk about how can a better relationship, like I said, if they're unhealthy, how can you have a healthier relationship with them? I'll give you an example. One of the moms from my group, this was years ago, she was remarried. So it wasn't that her son's dad.
Yeah.
Adult son was homeless, wherever, he wasn't far from where she lived. The stepdad did not allow him in the house. And she was having a really hard time with that and resentful of her husband. So it happened to be fairly good weather because we're in New Hampshire. And I said to her, did he say he couldn't come on your property? And she said, no. And I said, okay. So what's to prevent you from making a nice meal, bringing it out to the picnic table, having him over, have a dinner with him. Don't talk about his addiction. Talk about fun times. Right? Yeah. Just talk about life and the fun things you used to do when he was a kid. Bring some joy to him because he's feeling joyful. And then when he's ready to go, have a leftover bag and send him with it. And it's a win.
Yeah.
That was her new coping skill. It was a way to be with her son. And eventually he found his recovery.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot had to do with some of those conversations, lighting a spark in his mind about who he used to be before the addiction. Yeah.
You're
And
worthy.
yes.
Because you know what? It's not about the drink or the drug. It's about the why.
Yeah.
Those are Band-Aids. Why are you self-medicating? What hurt you? Is it trauma, PTSD? Maybe it's your genetics. What is
Yeah.
internally that you can't live without self-medicating, that you can't stand the shame? What do you blame yourself for?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's so important. And then that's really is the root of all addiction, right? Is you're trying to fill the void, a space that is empty. And there's a million reasons why it's empty,
Mhm.
but you have to acknowledge the fact that it is
Yeah.
first. Yeah, that's so important. I know, I love, you told me a little bit about some of your workshops and some of the other creative activities you do. Can you tell people about the hula hoop one?
Oh, my hula hoop
I love
syndrome.
that one.
I created, I have a creative brain. It just works on overload sometimes. But I was trying to figure out how do I get people to get it? And for me, I'm visual. I have to enact it, see it, feel it, touch it, whatever. So I do the hula hoop syndrome. And so I give everybody a hula hoop and I give them a baggie with all kinds of stuff in it. There's pictures of babies, baby mamas, baby daddies, $1,000,000 bills, $1,000 bills, handcuffs, you name it.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I said, anything that is going on in your loved one's addiction and that affects you, I want you to hang on it. So they do. And we talk about it. What's this about? Blah, blah. And then I have them stand in the center and they say, balance it.
And
What are you doing? You balance
yeah.
everything. You're trying to figure it out and do it all yourself, thinking you're a goddess or God, whatever.
Yeah.
So balance it. And then I'll tell them stop and drop, step outside and pick up one little thing just for today that you can work on. That's all we can do. That when I had my hula hoop full of all kinds of stuff, it was like I had this enormous boulder and I'm pushing it up the hill with my back and my feet are in the ground. I'm trying to get it up that mountain all by myself. And all I'm doing is working hard at nothing. And I read this book, Things Are Going Great in My Absence, or you can or drop the rock. So I decided to step back, let my boulder just crack into a bunch of pieces and pick one thing up that I'm working on. And that's typically I start with me.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It's so important, that self-care piece and that change in perspective is super powerful, right?
Sure.
I love your boulder and small rock analogy and the hula hoop, the balancing. That must have been very powerful for parents. That physical representation of this is impossible to balance. When you see the futility of it, this is actually an impossible job. So why don't I put this down for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to use an analogy in my classroom with my kids about holding a glass of water. It's not hard to hold a glass of water, but it's hard to hold it for 30 minutes with your arms straight out like this.
Yeah.
It gets
Especially
super
if it's
heavy,
full.
right? Especially if it's
Oh,
full.
crap.
Yeah, full of craps. Put it down. Put it down and focus on those small things, because I think this, as well as from coaching, is those small things.
Yeah.
They add up and they make that long-lasting change.
Yeah.
Doing those small things.
And I tell the parents, you know what? It's baby steps. It's just like when your loved one starts their recovery process. It's baby steps. Like we have to work our own recovery program too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents don't want to talk about that. I don't have a problem. They do.
And
Yeah, I guess you do. One of the things I do in one of my classes, and and it's all about your why.
yes.
Ask them, why do you do what you do? What do you mean? I want to know why. Because I love them. No, let's talk about why you do unhealthy helping. Let's talk about why you're giving money. Let's talk about why you're paying off their dealers. Let's talk about that. And I had a man say this to me years ago, and I'll tell you, pissed me. I was on the governor's commission for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And this gentleman didn't have any children, person in recovery. And he said, you know what's wrong with you parents, Donna? Well, yeah, I don't know. Tell me. And he goes, it's all about you. You do what you do because it makes you feel good. And I had choice words. I didn't verbalize them. I kept them in my head, but they weren't nice. Who are you to tell me I'm the mother?
Yeah.
And it took me, and I didn't talk to him for a long time. I just avoided him, which shows my immaturity. But it took me probably a year to agree with him and understand my why is because when I paid off his drug dealer, I thought I was keeping him safe. When I paid for his car payment, I thought I was helping him get to work. When I did what I did, if you notice, all you hear is, I did what I did because it made me feel better.
Yeah.
As much as that man pissed me off, he truly gave me a gift. And when we can be honest with ourselves,
Yes.
that's when we can start to truly move forward, doing our healing process and making healthier or having healthier conversations when our loved ones are sick and suffering.
Yeah.
And healthier behaviors.
Absolutely. And it starts with yourself. That's that self-care piece. And I hope everybody listening is going to hear this an awful lot from me. Is it's not bubble baths and getting your nails done. Self-care is a lot more than that. I'm not saying it can't be that, but I think, in the way that you're talking about, it's setting those healthy boundaries, taking some time to do what you love to do, discovering what brings you joy, pivoting your focus. And that helps the parents so much to reframe the situation that they're in and what they're looking at, what they're focusing on. What you focus on grows.
Yep.
So if you're going to sit home and cry and focus on they're living under a bridge, right? Then that you're partially sending that energy out there, right?
When my son was in active addiction for years, I used to say my prayers would be, I don't want him to be around those damn drug dealers. I don't want him to do drugs. I had all these don'ts that I didn't want. And I kept getting more. And then I'm like, stop picking on me.
That's right. That's so typical. Yeah.
And then through my spiritual journey, I realized the universe doesn't understand the word don't.
Nope.
So my prayers became, I want my son to live a healthy, happy life.
Yes.
And today he does.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, we get what we ask for.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's important for us to pay attention to what messages we're putting out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea our conversation was going to go down this road. I'm so happy it did, though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Tell us how are you helping parents still today?
I'm trying really to get out nationally.
Yeah.
And I am out there. And so I run workshops. I do one-on-one coaching. You name it, I'll do it. Just if I can help one parent to
deal with this,
stop that feeling of being sick to their stomach or help them get out of it. And that's what I do. I also have a journaling program that's different. It's not just sitting there writing stuff. There's one process where you answer both. So you write as yourself, and then you write to the person that you're writing about is also answering you.
Oh.
Yeah. So I do it with my inner child because that's a lot of the problem is the inner, right? So for example, I call my inner child Donna little D.
Yeah.
And so I'd ask her like all these questions and then ask her, how can I support you? And then she answers me. And then we come together and we start to love each other because most with addiction or whatever, it's about not loving ourselves or everybody has that issue about loving themselves, but people with substance use disorders, they don't love themselves. And so they can't imagine anybody else loving them. they push us away because that's all they know how to do. Because I just went off on a little tangent.
That's okay. We're allowed to go on tangents. That's why this is a chat. I told you. That's why this is not a podcast. This is a chat.
It's a little bigger than just this recovery piece, stop doing drugs or alcohol. It's so internal. It's that inner child. It's healing those mother-father wounds. It's that you were beat up in 6th grade, right? It's finding that peace, connecting to it so that you can move forward and heal from it.
Yeah, and love that piece. I always say, try to love those parts of you that you don't like. You got to love those parts too. And in doing that, then healing comes and you're more whole, right? That sense of worthiness is so key. And as an elementary school teacher for so many years, I really would love to see more of that in the schools, teaching children about positive affirmations and what are these wonderful and amazing parts of themselves, the strengths that they have, and giving them the language for that. Like, it's not in the curriculum, unfortunately. I tried when I was there to give them the language, but most of them, they're seeking outside of themselves for that sense of value and validation. And I think even more so today.
Yeah. I've been talking to got involved, and actually she'll be on my podcast, Scarlett Lewis, whose son died at the Stony Brook massacre at the school. And she has a movement called Choose Love. And they find now when they we have a place for challenged teens, I believe. And they found that when they did less curriculum and added more of the Choose Love, teaching you to understand someone's perspective might not be the same as yours. Doesn't mean you punch them in the face. Talk about it, because it might open up a different thought process or a different worldview. So they're finding by doing less curriculum and more of this type of work, they have less disruptions. The boys are getting along better. And so they're asking to have more of that. So I think it's just allowing people to be who they are and loving them.
And building those skills of empathy, emotional regulation, social skills. I've always said, if children don't have those skills, they can't learn diddly squat. I bet if you tested those boys now, they have the potential to learn a whole lot more.
I can tell you, my son, the one who's in recovery, was diagnosed with ADD, which back in the day, like everybody was.
Yeah.
And talked to this homeopathic doctor, he goes, like, don't put him on Ritalin. That's not a good thing. And we figured out ways for him to work through it. It's like he outgrew it, or he's highly successful today. But it's just, I don't know. It has to change. The way we do things isn't necessarily working for the kid who, like for me, I have an artistic brain, right? English and math, that was difficult for me. But if you had me draw a picture about it, I probably would have gotten an A.
Yeah.
Figuring out how do we adjust so that everybody, it's fair play for everybody getting through the 12 years of school.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's removing the expectations. I know in the schools here in Canada, they're trying this universal approach to learning. And as a teacher in a room with 25 children, I'm supposed to present the information in a variety of different ways for all of these different learning styles. I'd like to see identifying after you get your basic math and reading and writing. After that, let the kid follow their passion. You know what I mean? Imagine if at the age of 7, you were said, Donna, you like to do art? Here's every sort of type of art you want to do. And that's what you're going to do all day at school. Right?
Yeah.
Or a child that likes to build, or if everyone developed their own we all come here with special gifts and talents. Yeah. And schools should be there to enlist those, right? Yeah, and develop those. We all don't need to learn calculus, okay?
It didn't mean any good. I didn't learn it.
Yes, I know. I didn't take calculus either. I just took
math.
Yeah. Oh, me too. And when you look at just some of the crazy stuff that the kids in high school, especially, they're forced to have to take all of these things when some of them might just be happy working underneath a car.
Right.
My car guy fixes my car. he only has a grade 8 education, and he gets down on himself about that. I said, Bud, I said, I don't know anybody on the planet that could take apart and put a car back together faster, more efficient, everything there is to know about vehicles. You know what I mean? That's his gift and his talent. I said, never feel bad that you didn't finish what? High school? Come on. I don't know about you, but I don't really remember anything I really learned in high school today. I think if everybody developed those passions, then let's circle back. How do you feel about yourself when you're working in your passion? Do you feel worthy? You truly do. That sense of worthiness that all of our kids, whether they're in addiction or not, every person on the planet, that's basically what it comes down to, is that sense of worthiness comes from feeling passionate and feeling competent and feeling good about what you're doing and what you're sharing in the world. So I think it's going to go that way, Donna. I really am going to hold out hope that things like YouTube, where people can share their passions and what they're good at, and I eventually maybe get some compensation for that, whether that be monetary or whether that be partnerships or whatever. I think our day, I heard this analogy, I can't remember where, that back in the day, television was tell-you-vision, right?
Yeah.
Now, YouTube, all about you. You get to follow what you're passionate about on there, right? Now, is it perfect? No. There's probably some crazy stuff out there. I don't see it because I only watch what for me, my YouTube, right? And same with social media feeds. I choose very carefully what is on my Facebook or whatever, because what I want to see when I'm taking a minute to scroll is I want to see positive things. I want to see funny things. I want to see educational things. And that's what populates my feed.
Yeah.
Right. So we can make some choices to help that and talk to kids about that too. Didn't we go down a rabbit hole here, girl?
Yeah. And I think to teach people who are sensitive that it's a gift and not a character defect. I didn't find that out till I was 68 years old, that I didn't have a character defect. And I carried that all my life because I was, you're too sensitive. Let it go, Donna. That's what I heard. And then I found I feel the energy in my hands, and I was walking by these books on being empaths, and my hands were like on fire. And I took them. I was like, oh my God, how sad is that we tell kids, you're too sensitive, let it go. And I think that we allow people to show that they're empathic or empaths, which, bringing us back to addiction, I think a lot of people with a substance use disorder are empaths or empathic. They're so highly sensitive that life is tough for them, so they self-medicate.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's stuff that should be, again, talked about in schools, taught in schools. Parents need help and support and guidance for that. Because a lot of times if the child's an empath, odds are one of the parents is not, right? We have to understand these different personality temperaments and traits in order to support each other. That's what it's all about, to get that connection piece. To help connection, you need understanding, right? And awareness of yourself and the other person, right?
And a lot of people with an SUD are disconnected. And that's why there's a lot of recovery community centers. I don't know I'm pretty sure throughout the country. I know in New Hampshire, we now have 23, and that's over the course of 7 years, right?
Wow.
Because the opposite of the disconnect is connect.
Yeah.
So now there's a place you can go to where you can be amongst your peers and who get what it feels like to walk in your shoes, and they can show you their pathway or many pathways to recovery.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's all about connection.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, Donna. This has been an awesome rabbit hole. Who knew?
So we bounce in, we pop out, we bounce.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So I have my 5 questions that I'm going to ask all my guests because I'm trying to be like the big guys.
Yeah.
So Donna, tell me, what is your definition of a fulfilled life?
For me, it's family. That my family is healthy and happy, and that as tough as all those years were, we've reconnected. We found our health. We found our sanity. But we've rebuilt our relationship, and that connectedness, no matter what, whether we get pissed off at each other doesn't happen often, but we know how to come back and have a conversation so that we can all heal and be heard.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
I love her. How will you know you did a good job raising your children?
It's easy. Right now, they're 41 and
Yeah.
and 40. So they're wonderful young men and they're very successful. But I will say this, 7 years ago, when my first grandson was born, my daughter-in-law, I only have one, said to me, "Thank you for raising such wonderful men."
Ah, that's a beautiful compliment. I
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
So, what is something you tell yourself during those challenging times? Do you have a little mantra, or we know the emotional scale crawling
Yeah,
up there?
that emotional skill is a big part of my life. This too shall pass. I do the serenity prayer. I
Mhm.
hand it over. I have a God box. Some people call it whatever you want. I have a burn box. So if stuff is really heavy, I put it in my burn box. And when it gets enough, I go out to and have a fire and I release it all to the universe. Because
Yeah.
you can flush it down the toilet, however you want to do it. But
Yeah.
what no longer serves me, I get rid of.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
So, what's the most important thing you want listeners to take away from our conversation? There's so much. I have to pick one. Sorry, I know it's a tough job.
Yeah. So if you have a loved one who's sick and suffering, to hold on to your hope because you never know when the miracle of recovery is going to.
I love that. I love that. So, lastly, where can people find you, my friend Donna?
They can, if you want to check out my website, learn a lot more about me, www.sharingwithoutshame.com, or you can email me at Donna and then the number 4 support@comcast.net.
I love it. That's great, Donna. Keep
Thank
doing your good
you.
work, honey. It's so
Thank you.
needed today. It's so needed today. You're not allowed to stop now.
You know what? I can't. It's like I found my voice and my passion, and I just
Yeah. It doesn't feel like work, right?
no, because I love it. That one person walk away and their shoulders relax, and you see them breathing because we have a tendency to hold our breath.
Yes, we do. And
Catch
stress.
myself holding my breath, and when I see them breathe, their breathing is nicer, calmer.
Mhm.
I know
Yeah.
they're going to work, but we have relapses too.
Yeah, of course we do. Of course we
So
do.
yeah,
We're never finished here on this planet. We can't get it wrong though. So
no,
we
yeah,
just
we're
keep
all
going.
I guess progress. Yeah,
Yeah.
progress.
It's all of those things. Process, progress, all of it. All of it. All right, honey. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for
Thank you.
listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
So glad you're still here. You do not suck as a parent. But I want you to know about something that we've created. The coaches and the experts that you see in this show, we've gotten together and we've created a community. It's called the Powerful Parenting Collective, where you as a parent can enter our group and have access to many of the experts that you see on the show, to private message them, to have a quick little video chat before you decide to hire them to help you in your parenting journey. Or maybe you decide not to do that. I want you to think about a community that is supportive, that will have events for you, free workshops, free information, and a place where you can really connect with the different experts that you've seen on this show. So click the link below and join us. Basically, think of it like a shopping mall for parents. We hope to see you there.